unfortunately, and people that we knew growing up and things like that, that unfortunately passed away. We didn't do it all throughout 2020, really, and because it was too hard to do. But I thought this one, it was one of the ones that we should bring up. Biz Markie. His claim to fame was a 1989 hit, Just a Friend, which I know our generation, the Gen Xers, can quote at will. He passed away at 57 years old, possibly diabetes issue. He got diagnosed with diabetes in 2014. So I don't know. He was hospitalized in early 2020 with it. So we give prayers out to his family and a golden ticket and towel for Biz Markie, one of the best beatboxers and producers. Just from everything you read, just a hell of a guy. So, golden ticket and towel for you, my friend. And we'll see you on the other side. So let's just jump right into this week's news, and that way we can shake that off and get into some more entertaining stuff.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So first up in this week's news, it kind of the internet is so much fun when you understand clickbait. So clickbait is when you see a headline. A lot of times you'll see a headline that you're like, and the most common and the most obvious ones are like Kim Kardashian's pregnant, and you're like, oh my gosh, who's Kim Kardashian pregnant from? And you click on it. It's those are the clickbaits. Those are the automatic clickbaits most of the time. Then you get to a page and it's got like a four paragraph article, but now you can only see one paragraph because there's so many ads all around it. Or even worse than that, there's one paragraph of information and then you're going to hit the next button, which is just going to reload another page with a bunch of friggin' ads. Excuse me. Just with a bunch of new ads. The more eyes you get on a site or a page, the more money they're going to get from advertisers. That's just the way it goes. It goes by, it's purely a numbers game for people. So if you click on a Facebook ad, God, if you're listening to Facebook, if you're on Facebook and you listen to the show, you have missed out on some of the shit we're talking about. But if you click on an ad on Facebook, that's what you're basically helping them do, is you're helping them get paid, because as soon as you click on that, you're going to go to a link, and that link is going to be a number. That generates one number, or depending on how many ads, depending on what they're going to do. And that's how they sell you as a product, basically. Okay, my site gets 4,000 views a day, or I have this many followers. That's how people get paid. That's how it works. It's unfortunate. The clickbait that I'm talking about is mostly news media shock value. That's the latest thing. Before, I can tell you that, when I was younger, it was very much like, I felt it was very much just news. Here's the facts. And we've seen it on John Oliver. We've talked about it on the show, how if you switched a bunch of channels, there's a lot of memes in the news media because they're all getting their news from a central news source, one of three news sources. And they're getting that media, and they're told that this is what you're going to say, this is what you're going to lead in with, and here's the catchphrase I want you to use. It always happens, and it really sucks. So two of the clickbait things that like kind of got me this week I want to bring up because they kind of irked me. So if you've heard about it, it's a 0-day exploit, and I could go into what that means, but just picture it as what you think. 0-day exploit. It's immediately an exploit for iPhones. Now I've sat at work and told people iPhones don't get affected because they really don't. You can't do a lot of side things with it. So this was brought to the forefront by some Russian hackers. Same ones that were behind SolarWinds attack, which we talked about before. It's an exploit, but the headline makes you think that the iPhone is a piece of crap and it's unsecure and you could be hacked anywhere. That's simply not true. It's a hack that starts with LinkedIn Messenger, and then from there, when the person clicks on it, it'll then allow the attacker to redirect you to another web page that will then install malware, which then compromises your device. Now, to me, this all sounds like it's computer-based as opposed to iPhone-based. I really don't see it happening on an iPhone. I just don't. The iPhone doesn't allow side loading of apps. In turn, if you click on, I know in the past when I've clicked on links or something on a web page, if it's not a PDF document, which it then asks me to download, it just doesn't do anything. It goes to like an error page. That's the way it's always been. This is what makes Apple's iPhone so secure, is that you can't sideload information. Now, can this happen on a Android? Yeah, it's quite possible. But on an iPhone,
bullshit.
I don't think that could happen. I don't see it happening. In all my experience over the years and being an Apple fan, and I don't see how they're doing that. And sometimes the clickbait is just simply blown out of proportion. Like the moon's going to kill us. It's another one that's been coming around. It's a hot button for a lot of the sheeple and the snowflakes. Well, the hot button for the sheeple and snowflakes is climate change. And Fremo and I have talked about this before on the show. It's not that climate change is bullshit. Not saying that at all, not even a little. And if Fremo's here, I guarantee you he'd be breaking my balls, asking if I still think that we faked the moon landing. We didn't fake the moon landing. I don't think that at all. I don't think that we saw the whole moon. I think there's something else going on the moon, but that's a whole topic for our Subtopia Null stuff. But we did talk about it, and climate change, not to get too far into it, every 50,000 years or so, I'm not even really sure, I can't remember the number for sure, the Earth goes through a time where it's closer to the sun, changing the average temperature as well as climate-related things like, oceans and forests and it's climate. But this has been proven with core samples that they pulled out of the poles that it's just a fact. The sun gets hotter and the climate changes for a certain amount of time. Look at it this way, people. The easiest way I can explain it is look at when you were a kid compared to look at when you're an adult now, especially if you're a Gen Xer listening to the show. Think about when we were kids and how much snow. Like November, you were hoping you didn't have any snow for Thanksgiving. It was just going to be cold. Christmas, you always hoped and hoped and hoped that you had, snow for Christmas. If you live in the northern half of the country, you always thought, okay, it's going to be. But then, as you get a little bit older, you realize that there's never going to be any snow on Christmas, and then you kind of hope for later. We're getting to the point now where, at least where I'm at in the Northeast, you kind of sit there and you're like, okay, a snowstorm, probably not going to get a good one until February, March, maybe January. You won't get anything else other than that. And it hasn't even been that bad of snowfall. You might have 1-2 foot snowfall. Other than that, it's just dust, what we call dustings up here. I know Fremo's here be breaking his balls because down in Tennessee, he called me one day with 3 inches of snow. He's like, they shut down schools. I don't have to go to work. It's a good day. I'm going to game all day. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm actually going to work because unlike you, 3 inches, man, 3 inches, they don't even have a delay. It's 3 inches. Get your ass out early and shovel or just drive over it. They don't care. 3 inches is nothing. In fact, a foot, I think a foot will get a delay of 1 hour, a foot of snow. And that's not even counting your snow drifts and, when the plows already come through and now you get 3 feet of snow in front of your house and it's all wet and dirty and disgusting. It sucks. But this happens all the time, and you can see the changes. These core samples that they took from the North and South poles, they tell the story right there. This is tens of thousands of years of information in these core samples as to what the temperature and the atmosphere and everything else was like at those times. That's how this works. So they've determined, and that's a fact. You can look it up. We're not helping, and unlike what people like to think and what they want to say, the majority of it does have to do with us overpopulating the planet. That's just a fact. We are overpopulating the planet. And again, you can look that up too, because it's a fact. Unfortunately, we're overpopulating. But back to the topic. Someone has latched onto a report that NASA put out. And I put the show, of course, I put the link in the show notes so you can take a look at it. And it's clickbait because it talks about the moon wobbling. Every 18.6 years, the moon wobbles, and when it wobbles, the tides change. And it's like, as you read, the whole headline was like, the moon's going to try to kill us and change the Earth's blah, 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 blah. It was just a bunch of bullshit. Because when you read it, you realize that they're talking about the wobble that happens every 18 years, and the tides will be a higher. Now, they didn't say how high. They never really determined. And again, it could be a couple of feet. It could be something like that. So close to the shore, yes, there's going to be some erosion, You know, people that live right near the beach, there might not be that much of a beach anymore. So but they made it sound like it was a global catastrophe. And then you actually click on the link and read the paper, and it's just more of them scientists and people at NOAA saying that, look, it's just climate's changing, and this is one of the changes that we're looking at and foreseeing. It was not a red alert for anything else. What people should be asking better questions about is, why the fuck is the moon wobbling? Could it be because it's hollow? Questions you got to ask yourself. This is when I wish I had the new camera, so I could do one of those zoom in things like some of the other professional content creators do. But let's shift gears and talk about something very cool and makes me very, very happy. A female sailor has successfully completed the Naval Special Warfare training. This is huge. This really has never been done before. Okay, and I need people to grasp onto this, because I'm a firm believer that I'm a big proponent of women's rights. You know, they shouldn't be paid less. They should work on their merits. If they're better at a job, then they should get the job. If they get the job, they should get the pay for that job, the same pay that a man would get. I think it's complete bullshit when I don't see that shit happening. It really is. It disgusts me. But naval officials aren't going to release the name of the soldier, but all in all, 18 females went out for this training. 14 didn't even finish the course, which is a normal ratio, actually, for this training. This is where you get SEALs and things. 2 of them are actually going for SEAL training, and 1 of them is going for it's driving the boats and the vehicles and the setups for the SEALs. Just as important, because they have to be able to get in and out of situations. And 2 of the 3 ladies are going for SEALs, and 1 is going for this, and she's apparently completed it, which is friggin' awesome. According to the Navy, about 300 sailors in all sign up for it, special warfare teams, and only 70 make it. And then that's give or take as they retire other teams out or rotate other teams out. It's a crazy training. I'm sure people have seen TV shows and stuff like that, and it's incredible. It's really, really incredible. So hats off to her, or all 3 of them. Good job. That's just awesome. That's just badass. All right, so now we get into this week's segment of music, and as you well know, if you're watching on YouTube, you are actually not going to see anything. Nothing at all. Well, you're going to see a picture of the band, and that's basically because YouTube sucks, and they won't let me play any music. I'm tired of getting strikes. So you're going to see a picture of the band, and I'm going to take a quick break and do what we do during the break time at BGFG. And then we're going to come back, and we're going to get into some of my favorite stuff to talk about. But this is the Messenger Birds. They're out of Detroit. Started in Detroit in 2014. This is the Messenger Birds, and the song is called Phantom Limb. And right now, you're going to see absolutely nothing, unfortunately, and not going to hear nothing. But on the other side, we'll catch you up on Stick Style. It won't even be that long. All right, all right. Let's get back into some fun stuff. Why do I have no picture? Oh, there I go. So that was the Messenger Birds, Phantom Limb. Oof, that that whiskey did not go down easy today. So this week we're going to get into a little stick style, and the stick style segment is going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to it, so let's just get into it.
Gaming.
So first thing we're talking about, I've looked forward to all of this. I'm so happy. First, our GPU shortage update. You can't get one. Still can't get one. Even though some moron posted that the prices of GPUs from NVIDIA and AMD are coming way down. Well, yeah, because you can't sell them for 3 times the price anymore. And just to let you know, I just checked before the show, just to double check. AMD's 6800 XT, and again, these are the cards that we've recommended at stick style for your computer build. Because, again, I just want to say this. The 3090 is geared toward creators, really, a lot more. The 6900 is also geared toward creators. It does a lot more than it needs to be for gaming. And at the same time, between the two cards, the 3090 versus the 6900, if you're doing content creation, you're editing videos, I would strongly recommend the AMD card over the NVIDIA card. If your main thing is gaming, go NVIDIA. And that's for all of their cards across their line. So back to what I was saying. AMD 6800 XT card is the one we recommend from AMD. That is $650 from their website when it's in stock. Normally, you know. But eBay's price right now is about $1,500 on the low end. And that's not even going with some, like maybe you want a Red Devil version, or you want a Asus version, or a Gigabyte version. That might run you different money. You never know, especially the Red Devil stuff. The Red Devil stuff would cost you well more than that. The NVIDIA 3080 Ti, which is a monster of a card. If you're just gaming, that is your card. That will last you years and years. That retails for $1,200. Again, a little steep, but for what it does and the longevity that you're going to get out of it, I know people that are still running 1080 Ti's without a problem. They do 60 frames without an issue. I'm running downstairs, and the 6-style machine is a 2080 Ti. That thing is a monster. I love that thing. I'm not going to get rid of that. Well, that 3080 Ti retails for $1,200. And just in case you don't want to spend that kind of money, the regular 3080 is $699. Now, on eBay, you're going to get the 3080 Ti for about $2,100 if you're lucky. And again, the 3080 you're going to get about $1,500, about the same price as the 6800 XT. It's completely rip-off. I don't mind spending, if this was normal circumstances, I wouldn't mind spending $100, $200 maybe over retail for that. One of the guys I work with got their card on eBay for $200 over retail, and everyone's like, no, that's crazy. No, I think that's actually a smart idea. He's got the card of his dreams, runs great. He paid $200 extra, but is that any difference than you saying that you don't want to buy a is that any different than you saying that you don't want to buy it at retail price and you're going to wait till it goes on sale, and then it goes on sale for $200 less? I mean, I don't know. I know that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but it makes sense to me. In fact, speaking about gaming cards, let me tell you something that happened that I came across. The horror show. So what I'm showing on the video channel right now is a beautiful, beautiful Asus. I believe Asus is making it because they have an entire line. Asus Gundam GeForce 3080. It's a beautiful, beautiful card. It's very, very beautiful. It's titanium white. It's got Gundam logos on it. The whole card's white. So if you're doing a white build, this is like the card. Even if you're not a Gundam, if you're not a Gundam fan, I would possibly just figure out a way to cover the Gundam stuff and just you have an all-white card, which is pretty awesome. They retail for between $2,000 and $3,000, and they're in limited production. A company out of Vietnam, though, decided to use their stroke in the supply chain that we've talked about on other shows, which is what happened with the video cards and why you can't get one. They bought a pallet of them. And guess what they're using it for? Yep, they're using it for bit mining. So they put them all in a rack, and they're burning them all out. And I think that's a shame. And the only reason why they did that is because those are the cards they could get that didn't have the upgraded firmware on it, or the BIOS lock, or whatever it's called, to stop mining or knock down mining ability. I think that's pretty shitty. But let's get on to bigger and better things. First thing I want to bring up is the Steam Deck by Steam. Did I even get a picture of it? I don't even think I got a picture of it. Thought I did. So the Steam Deck is not Stream Deck, Steam Deck. We'll get to a Stream Deck later. It's what Nintendo Switch Pro really should have been in all reality. It warms my heart to report that it's powered by an AMD. It's essentially a Nintendo Switch with your Steam library on it that you can take anywhere at all. You have two thumbsticks like you would, but right below it you have two thumb pads, which I don't get, but hey, if that's into you, if that's what you're into, that's cool. They also have a dock that's going to be extra money, but the dock allows you to have a LAN connection, a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse. It's going to come in 3 different flavors. It's going to come in a 64 gig, 256 gig, and a 512 gig. Now, the 64 gigabyte is about $400. The 256 is going to be $530, and the 512 is going to be $650. Now, you're sitting back going, that's expensive. I don't disagree with you. That is expensive. But for that, let's go with the high end, because you really should be going with the high end. But let's go with the low end. 64 gigs for $400. That's not too bad. It's a handheld computer, essentially. This is a dock that you can dock and have high definition games on your television. It's really well worth it. $400, I think, is a little steep, because 64 gigabytes is damn near nothing. And with the 64 gigabytes, you might get 1 game, 2 games the most, AAA title on there. I mean, these games are big. So I think that's a bad idea. The second thing is the 512 is $650. I'm assuming that the docking station is probably going to cost you $100, because it's a nice docking station. Not the greatest, but it's nice. But these things are all staggered out over all of 2022, and nobody, I think, is paying attention to that. So the 64 gigabyte model, you're going to get maybe at the beginning of 2022, and then the next one's going to drop at about summertime, and then the last one's going to drop like November, December. You're going to get the 512. Now, there'd be an expansion slot, but the current rumor is that Gabe Newell himself said that the 256 and the 512 are using the 2230 M.2 slot. So he didn't say that you can kind of open your shit and pull out the card and put a new SMC in there. I mean, not SMC, M.2. He didn't say that you couldn't either. So it's theoretical that it's not soldered to the board. And if it's just a 2230 M.2, you should be able to remove it and add another one. This is going to be very interesting, because they very much said that this is going to be an open device, meaning you can port Linux on it. You should be able to, there's going to be hacks out there that's going to allow EA to have their service on there, possibly Xbox's online service. It's exciting to see. I think it's a little bit expensive, but we've seen other products come out before at a big price point that a price point that people didn't agree about, and they really kind of did well. So let's hope that this does well. It's going to be a nice thing. And now let's start talking about some of the stuff that I'm most excited for. So one of the things I'm excited about is, and if you know from the show, I am a brand loyalty fan. So I go kind of all in on different companies, and that's why I pick certain companies. I like Corsair. I do. I think Lean Lee's fans are brilliant. I think there's better coolers out there. I like the Asus water cooler. You have a lot of different companies doing G-Saw for RAM. I mean, you have a lot of different. I don't think I said that right. You have a lot of different company brand loyalty type things that you can do. I like Corsair. They fit my needs. I like everything. I have all Corsair products, and I continue to do that, including my chair. And when it comes to the insides of the computer, I usually go with AMD. But when it comes to broadcasting and stuff, I've found over the years, now again, I've been doing this for well over 10 years. I got to count it one day, but over 10 years. And as I've been doing that, a lot of times it was hacking things together. It was running things off a laptop plugged into a desktop, to get certain audio features and stuff and sound effects and all that, because none of that stuff really existed. I was doing it on a Mac, made it a little bit easier than a PC, but it was still kind of difficult to do. And I felt that finding a brand, like at that time, Rogue Amoeba, you just had to have everything Rogue Amoeba. They're brilliant. They saw the future. And I feel Elgato is kind of the same way. So I have the key lights. The lights that are lighting my face right now is Elgato, my Stream Deck, which I love. I have the Wave 3 at the stick style machine, and that mic, I still say, with that software, I think the Wavelength software is one of the most brilliant software ever. So this all started with Sony back in the day, and everything connected, everything worked. I like that. I don't want to find adaptations. I like you, I don't want to try to figure out a workaround or just accept something like this. I expect that all the stuff I buy from Sony to work together, and it did, from remote controls to stereos to DVD players to VCRs to TVs. Everything Sony worked with each other very, very well. Of course, it's the same company. So I like that type of brand thing. Corsair's like that for me. AMD, well, I guess can't really talk about that, but because it'd be AMD and Intel, and anyway. So I like that. And I mean, it's a love-hate relationship with Corsair, but Elgato is killing it. And they always come correct. They pretty much close the door on the competition, in my opinion, with their announcements. We'll start with the smaller stuff. So there was extension lights. They make extension RGB lights, and now they have extensions for those lights, those strips, those RGB strips. They also had a new Stream Deck, the smaller Stream Deck with customizable faces, I believe in the very near future. And they've now made it, the smaller Stream Deck has this really floppy stand to it. And the Stream Deck XL that I use has a molded stand, which works 150 times better. They're going to put that on the new one, or the new smaller one. And you have new color wave panels. They're black and blue now. I had to take a drink, though, because let's get into the fun stuff here. So the major announcements that they had was mic arms. You might not think a mic arm is important. I'm sure you've heard this 100 times from 100 people. But a mic arm, you might not think is that important. But it is. I use a Blue Compass. It's a very strong mic. When you work in radio, there's a company that it begins with an M. They make very good products, but they're very, very expensive. And you want it very quiet. Back in the day, with the springs on the side of your mic boom arm is already a bad idea if you're thinking about podcasting or streaming, because it makes a whole bunch of sound. I can move my mic stand and it doesn't make a sound. That's kind of what you want. You want a loose type of mic stand that doesn't make a sound. So Elgato kind of, well, I should say Blue Compass, which is the one I use, as well as Rode, they make really good ones that people kind of strive to get. They're $100 a piece. They're not cheap because it's $100 for a boom arm. But also distance. I have a 6-foot desk and I can't get it over my monitor, so I have to put it off to the side, and it's really stretched out more than I would like it to be. These are different things for different people's setups. But I've always wanted one of those low-profile ones that they have at like radio stations. But those things are like ridiculously expensive. You're looking at like $500 to get something set up and drill holes in your desk. I was planning all sorts of things. But Elgato took it a step farther. And what they're doing is they're giving you not only, and I thought this was kind of cool, it's very much like a kind of a Blue Compass feel to it, but it's perfect weight and size. It's really well done. It's very smooth. It has a channel for your wires that's got a magnetic top, so it's just a full channel, which is great. Blue Compass kind of does that too. I don't know if the other companies do. It'll attach to the desk like all the other Elgato products. They all use the same connector, so you can actually swap stuff out all the time. If you need different setups on your desk, you really don't have to move the mounts. The mounts are all the same, so you can just put stuff where you want it to. But what I think is cool is that inside the package of the boom arm, they're giving you a 6 inches extension on it for people that want to get it up and over their monitor very easily. I think that's really nice of them and kind of smart to do, because that was my biggest problem. And knowing that if I ever got that boom arm, because I'm happy with this one, I would put that and do that. And I think that's really where it's at right there. I think that was really smart to do. But more importantly, with the mic arms, they're coming out with one that's a low profile one. So this is the one that goes under the monitor. Oh, I got a picture of it. Hold on. Where did I put the picture? There it is. So that is the mic arm LP. It's the low profile mic arm. And it really kind of comes underneath your desk and snakes a little bit, so you can have the mic where you need it to be. There's enough bends on there, trust me. There's enough bends that's not going to bother you to be able to type. It's really good, and I can't wait to get it in. I ordered it immediately. I'm even talking about it now. I get excited. And what is really funny, and this is a great story, is that my wife and I asked her. We were talking about it in one of their videos, or in a web page, one of their web pages for their Stream Deck product or one of their other products we were looking at. In the background on the desk was this mic arm that was an under low profile mic arm, and I'm like, where did they get that? I don't know. It's not on their channel. So she sent them an email a couple of times, got a response once, then didn't get any response. So she called the company. And when she finally got somebody, they were like, yeah, no, we don't know where that came from. That was part of the marketing team. And the marketing team had something there for us to utilize. And then they took the pictures, and we never saw it again. It's obviously their mic stand that they were actually like doing or prototyping at the time. I just think that was brilliant. That made me crack up. Also, the next thing they dumped on everybody was the Wave XLR. So this is something that everybody's been waiting for a while. It's an interface for your XLR mics, which is finally good to happen. So everybody, what most people do right now is we utilize the Go XLR. It's a brilliant piece of equipment. It has 4 sliders that are automated. It has mute buttons, and you can slide. I don't know if I can hear it. I don't know if anybody can hear that, but they have automatic sliders. It's just great. I don't use the upper sound effects, but the lower ones, you can do all sorts of things with it. And it's just really good. It's got a button. It's got a mute button. It's just really well done. But that's how you get your XLR. The only other way to do it was to find these really weird interfaces or like DJ equipment that had a USB output. Or when I first started, you had a basic DJ type board, and one of the headphone outputs you would utilize to adapt to go into your sound card, which is why sound card was so important on a lot of the earlier computers for me, because I had to take the audio in and then use that audio as a mix. So it was very weird, but I was also able to plug in different things and adapt. It was really funny. In fact, we at one point we only had one, and I spilled a beer on it. We were having a beer at halftime, and Freeman and I, we're enjoying a beverage, and it spilled on that, and then the audio went dead. And he called me on the phone. The show stopped, and he's like, "Did you spill your beer?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." So we get another one like the following day, because you can get them at any Guitar Center or any place like that. But anyway, back to what this is. This is for XLRs themselves, and we've been using a Go XLR, just like the old ass one you see on the BGFG podcast. This is the old ass mic. Love this mic, and I've been using it for years, and it's really, really basic. So it's XLR, and all I need is a basic input output. This is perfect. The Wave XLR, you have basically on the back, you have a XLR input, you have a you have an XLR input, a headphone jack, and you have a USB to connect out to your PC. And then you have one giant knob on the front. This knob does the same thing that the knob on the Wave 3 does. When you press it, it turns, and as it turns, you can adjust your gain, You can adjust your game chat mix, and you can adjust your headphone monitor level. Very cool. The preamp is powerful enough in this unit to power like the SMB mics, this mic. It has the power to, I think it's 70 decibels, I think. I want it, that is a number that's sticking to my head. It's just great. It has clip guard, which means when I'm talking and if I get really close, my level peaks right out. So instead of having that happen when you get excited or something happens, the clip guard stops that from happening. It kind of crunches everything. I've seen clip guard before. I've seen clip guard work. If you adjust it wrong, it's awful. If you adjust it right, it works great for any sort of loud excitement you may have. And of course, it all floats into the Mac and PC using their Wavelink software, which we've talked about before when we reviewed the Wave 3. That the Wavelink software is probably some of the best software I have ever seen in my life. It's exactly what you're looking for if you're starting out to do a podcast or streaming. Anything, endeavor, I guess you could say. If you want to get, like, people are obsessed with getting the best stuff ever. We've done things on even the website to try to gear people toward not getting the best of everything. You don't need that starting out. But one of the things you want to do is, even if you get a USB mic, or you go with an XLR mic now, but if you get a USB mic, you want to be able to control your audio. And one of the best ones I've seen, I do it with the Go XLR. I adjust different things for different sounds. So I have 4 sliders, and that would be 4 channels that I can control. The system, the chat room, if we have guests, the music, and the mic. I can adjust all of those on the fly. Well, usually I'll swap out music with sound effects. And that's what you need. This one gives you 9. Wavelink gives you 9, like we talked about in the review. And all of them are adjustable by 2 channels. You have one channel that's your output or your broadcast, and you have another channel that's in your headphones. So you can mute your broadcast of music if you don't want to get pinched and just listen through your headphones. Brilliant. That's all any of us really want. And then I can pick in any sound audio place, I can pick broadcast output from Wave 3 as a choice. It's brilliant. It's easy. It's super fun to do. And this thing allows you to use an XLR mic and use that in that same type of software. And it's only $160. I think that's great for an interface. There's a lot out there that are a lot more expensive than that. There's ones that are cheaper than that actually don't do a good job of it at all in any way. And this one does. And it's far less money than my Go XLR. My Go XLR was $500. And Elgato has already said that they've listened to their customers, and since this launch, well, right before the launch, most likely, when they finalized all these things I'm about to talk to you about, they were already working on Wavelink software updates to allow VSTs, which is when you get compression, noise gate, S filter, all of those are VSTs. It's going to be, that's the missing link for the software. That's it. Next thing they announced was Facecam. And this was the talk of the whole thing. It was like the thing. It's a 1080p 60 frames webcam, and it doesn't have a mic because it really doesn't need one. It's got a pro-grade Sony lens and an Sony image sensor from the DSLRs. It outputs uncompressed video directly to your computer. No autofocus. Logitech, are you listening? There's no autofocus. It actually has a range of about 1.5 feet or so from what I read. I believe it's 1 foot. Yeah, something like that. Like 1.5 feet from the camera. No, it's going to be more than that. That it's a range that you can move, that it'll continuously keep you in focus. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's got a flash memory on board so that whenever you restart your computer or reload Streamlabs or OBS or whatever, Twitch Studio rather, all of these things, you have to reset your camera. Your camera comes up and it's already zoomed out and all that shit. I'm looking at you, Logitech. Again, the best part is the software. The software they created for this is called CamHub. And you have direct access to picture color. You have exposure with ISO numbers. You have, and it's not just sliders like Logitech. You know, their camera is supposed to be the best ever, and it's the best camera. That's what I'm shooting on now, is that Logitech, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I just had to reset it before we even started the show tonight. So I don't even know if I'm like in center or anything else because it just shit the bed. I had to rewire it. It's like across my desk. It's awful. And they always do that. And they have sliders for adjustments on theirs. You have no idea what the hell you're doing. You just look at the picture and hoping for the best. And a lot of times it doesn't even update what you're doing. Like you can restart the app or the app can finally update itself. And all of a sudden your webcam decides to zoom completely in because you were testing something earlier. It's weird and messed up. And speaking of Zoom, combined with the Stream Deck, you can simply press a button and do that whole zoomed in feature that you see some of the content creators doing, where they zoom into a face. I think it's a great effect. I plan on using it when I get this because I ordered all three. As soon as they came out, I ordered all three, guaranteed. And I'm going to do a review and hopefully an unboxing. It's got 82 degrees of field of view, which I believe is the most of any of these webcams. You can sit comfortably in your chair, move around a little bit, and they'll still keep you in frame as long as if you're not Zoom. Logitech, you listening? Doesn't constantly shift. Every time you move, if you're on the video feed, you can see me move left to right a little bit. It's constantly trying to adjust shit. If I throw up my hands, it's trying to rezoom everything. It's awful. You got to shut that shit off. But it's priced at $200, which really isn't that bad when you think about the lenses that you're getting and the onboard memory, which is excellent as well. You make all your settings, your ISO settings, your color settings, whatever your balance is, whatever you think is good. You set that up and you hit save. It saves it onto the webcam itself. So when you plug it into something else, it's going to remember that. When you open up a different type of software, when you go from Zoom to OBS, it's going to remember those settings. You don't have to redo settings, or you don't have to go, oh, why am I not zoomed in, or whatever the case may be. It's really good. Like I said, I got all three of them, so I'm looking over to it. That was a lot. Wow. Let's get into our last segment of the day because, man, that was long, and I got a phone call in between, which was weird. I do believe that was Freemo giving me an update. So, for what it's worth today, I was going to close out the show with something a little bit fun. Just kind of, man, that Elgato stuff got me real excited. Giant pandas. These things are like really cute. And everybody loves the panda bear that sneezes, gets surprised and sneezes, the mama bear. That is a great one. There's so many pandas rolling down hills, eating the bamboo at the sugar cane, and not even stopping. It's just not caring at all. They're just the greatest animal. They're no longer classified as endangered, and that's a great thing. It absolutely is. They're still considered vulnerable, but they're not considered endangered. So just vulnerable. I think China did a good job in this. People can talk about China and do what they do, and there's not. Just like any country, you can't blame the entire country and all their citizens. There's people still doing good in America, and sometimes America sucks. There's people doing good in China because sometimes China sucks. There's people doing good in, Russia because sometimes Russia sucks. It's just what we do. We're middle class. That's what we are. So good job, China. The other thing I found that I wanted to bring up before we closed out was if you're a sci-fi fan, which a lot of us here are, if you're a sci-fi fan, then Star Trek the motion picture, while the Star Trek itself, Star Trek, all of them, hold places close to our heart for geeks and sci-fi geeks. And it doesn't matter which one, the classics, the next generation, whatever works for you. But the Star Trek the motion picture has got to be considered one of the absolute worst Star Treks of all time. It's just awful. The outfits are awful. They even addressed it in the books. I used to read the books as well, the novels, the Star Trek novels, and they even addressed it in the books that uniform was so uncomfortable that one of the things Kirk demanded for this mission that they were doing in the book was that they get next year's uniforms that he already got a peek at as being an admiral. He wants to wear those because by the time they came back, they'd already be in style type thing. So I thought that was really cool in the book. But in the movie, that's how bad the outfits were. And that was just the outfits. I mean, there was scenes like with Spock on the planet, on his home planet, covering his face. When they showed the planet itself, it looks like the desert. Like, it wasn't really a far stretch, and they didn't really explain anything and make it look any sort of alien. And in the director's cut, which they're doing now for a special 4K edition, they're actually going to change that scene so that there's more CGI in it. And it makes it more. It's more for the storyboards, which I think is... First thing I got to ask, though, is who asked for this? Like, I don't know of any Star Trek fan that wanted this. But, again, what they did kind of turned me a little bit as a sci-fi fan. Even fans were never happy with it. So what they did was they went back to the storyboards. They got a hold of the storyboards, and they utilized the storyboards for the vision that was there, I should say. And they recut this movie using CG to make it better. And then they put it in 4K. But they went to make it better. I mean, this movie was literally being edited, and final copy was brought by the director to the premiere. It was. Look it up. Facts. So a lot of the added scenes in the movie were added from the storyboards, and a lot of the CG was corrected. They said one of the hardest things they had to do was they had to age the film to look like the original, which I thought was quite funny. But I'm going to give it a watch. So that's really it for this week. Next week might be a little different with all the changes and the upgrade and the testing I'm going to have to do with the Elgato stuff. I'm going to upgrade this rig as well. And I'll probably go back old school. Yeah, I think I might do a little old school by broadcasting no gimmicks off of the other computer, the original Mac. Not the original Mac. This one's more of an M.1 type Mac. Let's see how that holds up. M1 processor. Put it to the test. And we'll see if we can do the show actually from that one, because, again, it uses Elgato, so I can just pull my Stream Deck over there and drag my sound clips as well. So let's take a look. All right, that's it for this week. 10's down, show's over.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.